Comic-Con, which means fans from all over the planet are watching you, and that was a fairly weak yell at the beginning. So let's give you another chance to show your might to the rest of the planet. 1, 2, 3. Good afternoon, New York City! I work for DC Entertainment. I am the man who stands at the microphone today while the rest of these people tell you about the cool comics that they make. A couple of housekeeping notes before we start. First off,
I can see everyone
slide. How on earth can you be at this convention without having downloaded the DC Convention app to tell you where to go and what to do? No greater advertisement can I make than everyone on the DC staff is actually using it to tell them where to go. If it didn't work, we wouldn't use it. DC Convention app, available at app stores. Next slide. First off, if you've been attending conventions the last couple of years, you've heard us talk about our Week of the Heroes initiative, which we started to use the Justice League and use all of you, as well as us, to try to find a way to ease the suffering in the Horn of Africa. Last year, by matching their donations, together we raised over $2 million to feed famine in the Horn. Different. If you haven't figured you've seen it yet, it's at the URL on the bottom of the screen there, indiegogo.com/weekendheroes. Rather than just soliciting donations this year, we came up with signed books, different experiences you could have, lunch with Dan DiDio. We turn that down, especially if you have to pay for it. All sorts of really cool experiential things that are available for you to bid on and do your part to help fight hunger in Africa. We're just tomorrow finishing up this last week, which featured items centered around Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg, and on Monday we started with Batman and Superman items, always the big draws in these auctions. So again, if you haven't checked it out, please go to indiegogo.com and find yet another way to contribute. Final housekeeping announcement. Starting on October 15th at dccomics.com, you will see the debut of DC All Access, which is an original web series we'll be creating every week that will literally take you behind the scenes at DC. How do I know this? We had to clean our offices. So that is as behind the scenes as it gets. Again, it debuts on the 15th at dccomics.com. But enough of me, let's get to the meat of the panel. You are here for the DC Comics New 52 panel, correct? Here on the dais with me, to my most immediate left, from Flash, is Mr. Brian Buccellato. From Red Hood and the Outlaws and Talon and the upcoming Batman Weekly coming next spring, James Tynan. The writer of The World's Finest, Mr. Paul Levitz. From Earth 2, it's Nicholas Scott. Next to Nicola from his run on Wonder Woman, it's Mr. Cliff Chang. And next to Cliff, who's worked on Swamp Thing and Red Lantern, Mr. Charles Soule. All right, let's begin the slides. First up, we're going to talk about Flash 24, which is coming out October 23rd. And this is a big issue, Brian. A lot of stuff going on in here. End of an era, as we like to say.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, a little bit. It is the end of the Reverse Flash arc, which is not necessarily sad, except for Francis and I are going to be moving on to another book. So it's our final arc. We have one more issue, 25, which will be a zero-year crossover. But the last page of 24 kind of made me sad because it says the end.
I told Brian that today. I saw it at the office this morning. It's a little touching.
Yeah. Well, basically, obviously, it's the showdown between Reverse Flash, who, for those of you who hopefully picked up some of the books and picked up the Villains Month that showed the origin of Daniel West as Reverse Flash. They ended up back in time to when Iris West and Danny were children, and he wants to kill his dad. He wants to go back in time and kill his father so that he can be with his sister and not have lived through all the pain that the father caused. And so that's what's happening in the cover. But the problem is, if he does that, time kind of gets all twisted and he becomes more of a monster. So what you're seeing here is actually, as he's attacked his dad, he's become worse and worse and more monster-like. So unfortunately, Flash is not in a great position of power here. So I don't know how he's going to beat him. I do because I wrote it. But, yeah, so maybe he uses some good words, and maybe he fights him. Maybe if you go to the next slide, maybe see what happens. So he does that. No, it's a little painful, and you don't like to have like history in your arms, like flashbacks all on your body. It's very painful. But somehow, as you might guess, he wins. Because he's the Flash, he's a good guy, it's his book, he should win. But I'm not going to tell you how. So I hope you pick it up, and I hope you guys really enjoyed our run. It's been 2 years, and when all is said and done, Francis and I will have worked on like 40 somewhat issues of Flash material and ushering Flash, Barry, and the whole cast into the New 52. So we leave with sort of somber hearts, but very proud of our work and happy to look forward to our next challenge. I don't know if anyone here knows or heard, but we're moving on to Detective Comics. So we'll be doing that.
Okay, next up. This is the cover to World's Finest 16, which is now on sale. Paul, not to spoil too much about what's going on here, but we have a powerless power girl, which some might argue is a point, and some might argue is a source of dramatic tension.
Well, you have kind of a power girl with her powers out of control for the next arc. And some of the time she's powerless, and some of the time she's really unpleasantly much too powerful for the moment. Also, for the benefit of the locals, I'm pleased to say that this arc takes place very assertively in New York City. So you get the fun of the hunters chasing someone across the Williamsburg Bridge walkway, and fire in Bryant Park. We don't burn down Javits, though after today I may go back and re-edit some. Consider the possibility of doing that, because they sort of have this whole Hudson Yards renovation thing, so if we just had a really big hole here, they might build a convention center that had food. Radical. Some fun stuff with R.B. Silva working on the art, and that all leads into a bigger event that we're not announcing yet, I don't think. But before we get there, we have the first World's Finest Annual. Many of you enjoyed, I think, particularly the Zero issue that we did a couple of years ago, where we had Robin and Supergirl, the girls before they got to our Earth. So we're going to go back there, and you're going to see them at the very beginnings of their careers again. And you will see Supergirl going out as Kara on fake ID and pointing out that if Kal-El is grumpy about it, he's kind of been carrying fake ID his whole damn life. So, right, does he have to bitch about it? And we'll see where her fake ID leads her and where some of those adventures take place.
And as we wrap up, we're going to flash like the next thing is the cover of issue 17. Some explicits. Outer space.
Power Girl goes off there. You know, the Kryptonians gain their powers from the sun. So now that there's space tourism, she kind of grabs a paid space on a spaceship. Sort of her gravity moment of going up there and saying, I'm just going to go up and do some sunbathing and kind of direct it and get a really good tan. This does not work out.
All right, next up. This is the cover to Earth 2, number 16, which is out already, and is one of the more epic issues of the comic we published this year. And when you page through it, Nicola, it certainly looks like it was a lot of fun to draw, but this was the culmination of a long, long storyline, too, so there's a payoff for everybody involved.
Yeah, we've kind of been building to this from the very beginning. Unlike the primary universe, the hero doesn't always win. And when they do, it's usually quite a decent sacrifice. If you haven't read the issue yet, fucker is. But we've been slowly but surely revealing that the state of the planet that the Earth 2 universe takes place in is it's considerably more corrupted and damaged than the primary universe, and that's what separates it. It's cosmically just not doing terribly well. And with each battle, more scars are sort of happening on this planet. And James and I have been sort of slowly but surely, from the very first issue, just sort of revealing the state of the planet and that the heroes are overwhelmed. And the next issue, issue 17, kind of picks up immediately after where we left off. And it's a pretty short arc, it's about 3 issues, and it's going to kind of bridge the gap between what James Robinson and I have been doing for the last 1.5 years and where Tom Taylor and I, the new writer, are going to be taking it in future. And it's a bridging arc that takes place over only probably about an hour, and it's the immediate aftermath.
As you mentioned, Tom Taylor's taking over with the next issue, so now you're working with him in a different way. How's that going?
It's really good, actually. Tom and I are friends. We've been friends for 5 years, and he's in Melbourne, so we're both in Australia, and it's kind of fun that the only 2 Australians working on mainstream comics. We get to work together, and we get to have our own planet to play with and destroy.
You get to plot with each other in Australia away from all of your meddling editors, so that was good. No editors intercepting communication.
Well, no, not quite.
But I just want to do one last call out while this is on here. The artwork in this particular book, any issue of Earth 2 hasn't been spectacular, but this one was the sort of epic wrap-up of the storyline. It's just epic.
Thank you.
Next, next up is 24. Not actually an issue you drew, Cliff, but you're doing the covers and going forward. But again, talking about culminating long-term storylines, this issue really gets character and the story to a very interesting point.
Yeah, with issue 23, we had kind of we're getting to the climax of our epic tale. Thanks to everyone for sticking with us for so long. We've been building these shorter arcs into a larger epic, and with year 3. We're really going to start paying off on all the stuff that we've been developing from the beginning. Issue 24, we have Wonder Woman now realizing that what it may mean for her to be the god of war, and her place in the Olympian pantheon. With the next one, Wonder Woman issue 25, Strife is the sister of Ares who Wonder Woman was forced to kill, and she's definitely got some opinions that she'd like to give to Wonder Woman. And it's also the first of our 2 bondage S&M covers. Issue 26 has the firstborn. It's, as the assistant editor, Chris Conroy, said, it's always good to have a little king on the cover with Wonder Woman. And the firstborn has been captured after the Battle of 23, and Apollo is trying to make him submit, but he's a junkyard god. He's not gonna take to that very well. And with issue 27 is where I'm back on art duties. The previous 3 issues are being drawn by Goran Suzuka. 27, we have Wonder Woman coming across something that's happened on Olympus. I think you might get an idea of what's going on there with all the broken statues. Her war with the firstborn is going to escalate, and she's going to need as much help as she can get, which may or may include some of her sisters.
Next up, this is the company Swamp Thing 24, which is up now. With a storyline that keeps running, and we'll run into Swamp Thing Annual 2. So Charles, you've been walking this twisted little path around the Earth to get to this moment since you took over the book. And you've got a big throwdown coming up pretty soon here, so...
Yeah, that's right. But before I even get into Swamp Thing at all, I should say, we thank everybody for sticking with the booklet. It has not been a chore. I mean, Wonder Woman has been a joy to read, at least for me. Maybe not any of us, but for me it's been...
Everyone should direct their Wonder Woman questions to him because he knows what he's doing with it.
Okay, so Swamp Thing is a story that I've been telling since issue 19. I hope some of you have been reading and enjoying it. There's been kind of a thread I've been running through the book so far about this guy named Cedar, who is essentially someone who kind of has some of Swamp Thing's power. Swamp Thing is able to use plants to do basically whatever he wants. His job is to kind of, shepherd the plant kingdom, on Earth into doing amazing things. And he's a cool, kind of weird character. So the thread that's been going through the issues I've been writing has this guy Cedar, who again has sort of similar powers to Swamp Thing, but he's not as good at using them. So he has the best of intentions, apparently. He wants to try and do good things, but then they always go really, really wrong. Like there was, the issue just before 24 here was a two-parter where he goes to Scotland and sets up a tree that dispenses amazing whiskey, but it's actually devil whiskey, and so it's a problem. So Swamp Thing has been, trying to find this guy to, try to shut him down and sort of explain that he's doing bad things. And then in 24, that complication finally happens, and it turns out that that's really just the beginning of a much larger fight. Because within 24, he sort of learns who Cedar is. He learns Cedar's name. Has anybody read 24 yet? Swamp Thing 24? All right, so I guess his name is Jason Wuku, who's a character from Swamp Thing history, but he's given a totally new origin here and a new background. I think it's pretty cool. So basically, the way the issue plays out, you think it's going to play like a typical superhero fight. Swamp Thing's going to win, he's going to save the day, bad guy's going to shut down, and then at the end, Swamp Thing's bosses, which is something basically called the Parliament of Trees, they say, you know what, we kind of like the cut of this Cedar's jib. We're going to let him fight to see if maybe he'd be a better avatar of the green than you are. So Swamp Thing's reaction is pretty much, I wish we had the reaction page, but I guess we don't. Swamp Thing basically says, what? What are you talking about? And then that sort of leads into the issues that are coming up, where they actually kind of build up to the big battle royale fight between Cedar and Swamp Thing, and which leads us into the annual, I believe. Yes. Okay. So the annual is out, I think, in just a week or two. The premise of the annual is basically Swamp Thing has realized that he was told when he took on this job to kind of protect the Earth and be this all-powerful being that he was the chosen one, that nobody else could do it, he was the best they'd ever seen. And so he kind of goes to talk to his bosses and he's like, wait a minute, I thought you said I was the best one. How could there be somebody else who can do the job? And their response is like, well, we tell everybody that because otherwise nobody would take the job. So Swamp Thing has to sort of, the premise of the annual is to sort of, he's learning about what is actually going on. Like he's learning about kind of behind the scenes and what his role is going to be, what the fight's going to be. We meet this character there whose name is the Wolf. He's named after a famous botanist from the 1600s, a German botanist. But since he's German, in the scripts I called him the Burger Thing, the URGHTR thing, which people seem to think was amusing for some reason. I don't know why. Burger Thing, come on. So Burger Thing serves as sort of his initial guide. He's very pompous. He's got that glass of plant, it's wine, because wine is made from plants, so that makes sense. But his glass is made out of leaves and sun. So he says basically, I'm going to take you to meet some people who are going to train you up. He's like his patron. I'm going to help you, win this battle. And if you go to the next slide, look at that. I mean, is that not like unbelievable? The artist for this issue was Javier Pina. I think I'm saying it wrong, and then the colorist is Matt Wilson, who's been coloring this series all along. And it's just, I mean, the pages in this, that's not even the best page. It's just an amazing page. So they basically, the Wolf says, we're going to go meet somebody who's going to train you up, and that person, Swamp Thing's like, well, let's go in together, and the Wolf's like, I'm not going in there. You're going in by yourself. And the reason why is because we meet the character on the next slide. Who is that? That is Lady Weeds. She is a Swamp Thing from the 1800s. She's wearing widow's weeds, which are, the sort of mourning clothes from back then. She's very creepy, very awesome. She has a lot of cool lines, and I like her a lot. I hope you guys will too. And then we build to the next bit, which is the reason that I'm most proud of this issue of anything I've done pretty much so far in my career. Basically, Swamp Thing is going to meet the last person who meets on his sort of tour of the green. But as you can see there, it's not green, it's blue. And so there's a reason for that. I think that the last 6 or 7 pages of this annual will be a very, very big deal, particularly for Swamp Thing fans. and I really look forward to people's reactions to the whole storyline, which wraps up with issue 27. So there you go.
Before we move on, Charles, I like the way that Cliff called out. We didn't have it scheduled to talk about here, but you're writing Superman Wonder Woman now.
Yep.
And the first issue just came out this week. If you haven't bought it already, you're missing out, obviously. But the second issue, which we've seen already, is basically part of it is Superman is taken home to meet the family. And I think it was a great moment where all the work that Brian and Cliff have done to establish this new family and this new sense of Wonder Woman's reality is now starting to play its way through in more obvious aspect of another book. It was just really cool to see how you guys took that and found a way to make it work for your book. It was a really great, thrilling 350 book.
Well, I mean, for me, it was, it was awesome to have such amazing characters to use. Like, they set up these phenomenal, gods, Wonder Woman's family, so to be able to use, I mean, everybody wants amazing characters, right? And I certainly have it for Wonder Woman. So, thanks again, Cliff. and Brian, wherever you are.
Okay, next up. Here's the cover on Red Hood and the Outlaws 24, which is coming out October 16th. And I heard you yesterday, James, when you were on the panel, describe this as kind of a free-for-all. It's not the exact word you used, but this is a kind of crazy issue.
Yeah, this is where everything comes to a head. Everything that I've been building towards since I came onto the book with issue number 19 is really, this is the point where we're going to finally see the Untitled and Redeemed Assassins clash in a humongous way. And we're finally going to see the figure who's been manipulating all of these events behind the scenes step forward out of the shadows. This has Jason Todd has just taken command of the League of Assassins in order to defeat the Untitled because they're on the verge of becoming powerful in a way that they would be virtually unstoppable. And he is the only one capable of leading that charge. In order to do that, he had to lock his friends away, and that's something that's sitting on him heavily. But he has to fight for his life in order to, keep things moving. This has just been an incredibly fun arc to write, and I think that, and this is really the beginning of the end. We have this leads directly into our 0-year issue, and then the real finale of this arc, which I think people are really going to enjoy because I've done so much to tear the Outlaws down, and this is the point. This is the low point. Now it's the time to bring them back together and have a big fun finale. So I'm incredibly excited about that, and the 0 issue I am also absolutely 0-year issue. I could not be more excited for. The focus will be solely on Jason Todd as a young teenager in Gotham City in the midst of the blackout, and we're going to see the remnants of the Red Hood gang after the events of Batman 24 and see how they affected his life as a young kid growing up in Park Road, also known as Crime Alley. We're very excited about what's coming up, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
I haven't seen this one yet, but every 0-issue tie-in that we've seen so far in the office has been absolutely dynamite. For something that sort of came together on the back end of Scott and Greg's master plan. I think the creators have, as a whole, responded to it as an opportunity to fill in some blanks or to use that backwards look as a way to illuminate what they're doing in the book. So
absolutely,
check out all the 0-year titles.
And I think that the other thing that's really great about those titles is that it's an incredible set piece that takes place in the past, but it allows all of us to really take a deep focus on the characters. These are incredible characters. Every issue that I've seen is an incredible character-driven issue, and I'm very happy that I'm able to be a part of it. And I think everyone's going to be blown away by these stories.
Paul in issue 12 which is out on October 23rd as well. Yep, here comes Batman.
All right, yeah. This is also like in Red Hood, we're coming. Like this is really everything I've been building towards since the first issue of that series is finally really going to come together. All of the pieces are on the table. Sebastian Clark, after his plan with Bane has fallen apart, he's going to be back in Gotham City, stirring up some trouble. We're going to see Felix Harmon take a real central position in this story arc and really become the major villain that we've been building him up to be since he was introduced in issue number 2. Yeah, we're going to see exactly why. We're going to see the legend of the Gotham Butcher and why that title was given to him. We're going to, and then the thing I'm incredibly excited about is we have a new artist on the book, Emmanuel Simeone, who is absolutely incredible. Just look at that. At those pages, we're seeing, and the other thing that you might be able to tell from that is Calvin coming back to Gotham after the events on Santa Prisca with Bane is going to need some help to get things ready, get the city ready for what's about to happen, and so he's going to have to turn to Batman. And Batman does not like the fact that there are talents operating in the city, regardless of their intentions. Calvin wrote, he used Calvin as this dangerous figure who was stirring the pot with the Court of Owls rather than allowing Batman to deal with this in the way he would. And this is the storyline where everything that Batman's been afraid of happening, everything that all the reasons he tried to stop Calvin all those months ago before Bane killed him, like that, he's going to be proven right, and it's going to make for a hell of a story. This is bad.
Okay, we've reached the end of the slideshow proper. Our friends at ReadPop have put microphones in this aisle over here and this aisle over here. We line up calmly and coolly at those microphones. We will ask questions of the assembled talent. Also bear in mind,
Can I think of one before I get to the front? Yeah. I think I might be able to. Here, let me take the camera.
What do you want me to,
Just the panel. Yeah, just film the panel. Film
there are no standards for determining life. It's all up to me. No begging.
Here, use this to
So let's
support. Yeah.
I've seen you at now 5 panels in the last 3 days. I'm sorry. You should host every panel.
No, that's not true. That is a form of thinking. So I think that's getting
Well, I'd like to apologize. I just picked up my first issue of the New 52 on Thursday. In the last 3 days, you guys have convinced me how great everything is that I'm going home and buying a tablet and buying every digital issue that's there. So, being that I'm going to throw a couple $100 your way, I was wondering if you could answer this one question. With the superpowered Daniel West, does this leave the possibility that maybe, just maybe, we will finally see Wallace Rudolph West, aka Wally West, in the New 52?
I like how you said it. I'll give you the answer that I gave to everybody who asked that question at every single panel that I had. Everything in its own due time. Wally, when the time is right, Wally will reappear. Do I know when? Absolutely not. No, it's not implied.
No, that's the greatest answer I could have asked for. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, one day. That's all I can say.
Thank you very much, guys. You have a great night.
Thank you, sir. Yes, that's my friend.
So, when the New 52 started, DC talked a lot about diversity in its characters. But when big changes roll around, it seems like the first character is always the first on the chopping block. If even the most well-established first characters cannot survive big events and reboots alongside the iconic white men, what's to stop the diversity in the New 52 from becoming just one long chain of interchangeable tokens?
That's a very interestingly premised question. I guess I guess where I would disagree is tokenism is a phrase that you brought to the conversation, not to us. I don't think there's a creator we have who approaches any assignment or any book that they pick up as a way of doing tokenism or doing anything other than the best work that they know how to do. So that might be the perception that you have reading into the situation, but I assure you, and I know that the people up on the stage will assure you as well, that when they approach a job, they're trying to make the best book they can and make it work. The marketplace is a different matter entirely, and I think some of the frustration that you feel should be directed as much toward the marketplace.
Keep your eyes peeled for us too. There's a lot of questions coming up.
Next question, yes, sir.
Hi. Last year I asked why booster bullets stopped existing in the Wonder Woman Superman case, and the response I got was you didn't really know yet, and it wouldn't last long, but there's been no mention of it through the entire year. So I'm just wondering what's up with that.
Anybody up here?
I'm writing a Superman Wonder Woman book, and so I guess there's still missing. So that's why.
Thank you, sir. Next question.
Oh, well, or keep your hand ready.
I just have a question about, something particular that happened, especially with now. I know as if we're changing writers right now, but I just want to go back to James Robinson. He kept talking about the event that was going on in 2014. Now, in circumstances, writing it, I just want to know if Tom is going to specifically pick up any outlines or threads that he had or what's going to go on with that.
The primary things that we've been working towards, it's inevitable that we have to keep that story going. The way the story is told is absolutely Tom's, and there's going to be some wrap-up of some of the story arcs pretty quickly, but Earth 2 isn't really about any particular one person. It's about lots of little stories. It's essentially the showcase on which a lot of stories are taking place. Earth 2 is meant to be a very widescreen book. Hopefully at some point we'll get a spin-off book and focusing on some people specifically.
That would be really interesting. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ben. I'm a pretty fast one. Really? I'm going to read this. So I'm wondering if anyone had anything to say about that.
Other than, yes, we have a Batman panel, Mark Ray over there, and outlined a little bit of what he has planned for the book. I've seen his outline, and I think we'd be very happy with what he's doing and how he's going to stay true to the character as he's established for many years ago. Thank you. Next question, yes.
Hi, my name is Dalton Joseph, and I just want to preface this by saying Flash and Batman are my two favorite DC heroes. And I really love the art style in the Flash currently. So what I want to ask is, how are you gonna, like, it feels like when I read that book, that's how it would be like the art style, have like, be able to move at the speed of light, think at the speed of light. And that art style is really, really iconic, and I love it. So I'm wondering how that's going to transition when you start writing detective Batman.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of sides to Francis's art. I think, people obviously know what we've been doing in Flash for the last few years, so that's kind of fresh in everyone's mind. But knowing him as I do, he's got a lot more tricks in his tool bag, and so you'll just have to wait and see. It's going to be, a more muted palette. It's going to be darker because that's the nature of Gotham City. Gotham City is not Central City. People may think that he's, we're too bright and vibrant and he's too cartoony, but let me tell you, if you ever Google Francis Manipul Batman, you'll see some of his commissions. He does an amazing Batman. I think everyone will be really happy when he comes out.
I'll definitely check it out. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Ray, and I just want to say I was a huge fan of the Young Justice cartoon which just ended. currently down to just Teen Titans. Is there any chance that we're going to see more of a DC youth movement coming with maybe some of the characters from the show, like Calder, Miss Martian, or Artemis?
Yes.
Excellent!
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carissa Barrios, and I know you guys are very great at what you do and very creative. And I know you guys come from different backgrounds and how you broke into the comics industry. But do you have any comments or advice on college students who are trying to break into the comics?
Nice on breaking into the business. Brian Busalano first.
I think it depends what you want to break in doing. I think the road's a little bit different for like a writer versus an artist. I think first and foremost, you have to do whatever it is that you want to do a lot. You know, they say that whole 10,000 hours to master a craft. You have to do those 10,000 hours. You have to be willing to take criticism and not sort of get hurt feelings when someone is trying to help you. So listen, work on your craft, whatever it is, and then I think you need to network. You need to go to shows, and if you're an artist, you have a portfolio, you show it around, and when you're ready as an artist, I guarantee you somebody out there will take your samples and will hire you. There really is an undiscovered talent out there. There's so many ways of doing it, TV and art and things like that. So I think for art, that's a pretty straightforward trajectory. For a writer, it's a little harder because no one's going to read your fan fiction or your awesome story for this great crossover that you have. So I think what you have to do is you have to self-publish. You do web comics. You have to do a show that one, you can finish a comic book that you know how to write and that you're willing to do what it takes. So I think that's your portfolio. So as a writer, that's kind of what you have to do. You have to make a finished product, and that's something that you can give people, and hopefully it will work for you.
I mean, I'm not sure if I can add that really covers all the angles. I think that this is, it's a weird small industry. You have to really, it takes a lot of resistance to networking. It takes a lot of resistance and really pushing forward in what you want to do to show that you have what it takes. And once you can show that you have what it takes, someone will see that in you. And that's really what's going to take the next step.
There's a real simple metaphor for that somebody came up with once about the comic industry. I think it's most creative arts. What we do is we ask you to hit your head against a brick wall until the brick wall breaks. At that point, having determined that you're sincere, we check and see if you have talent. So, hope it doesn't hurt too much as your talent improves. You survive my course, you'll survive the rest. You'll survive the rest of the journey.
Man, as a moderator, I'm always appreciative of questions that are enable more than one member of the panel to answer. So for you, don't sit down yet. So for you, from our friends at Google, who we launched digital comics with this week, I have a Google Nexus 7 reader. Next question.
Hi, my name is Chris. I just want to say that I've read DC Comics since I was like 4 years old, and I really love it. And I just want to say thank you for what you've been doing.
You just went to the mic to say thank you. You don't have a question or a complaint?
I just want to have a question.
Go ahead.
They killed off Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman in the first issue. Do you think they'll bring them back soon, or no?
Have you read issue 16?
I think I skipped it.
Time to dig that one out of the pile and read that one. Okay?
If you want to read
have that coming up shortly.
If you want to read it digitally, for you, from my friends at Amazon, I have the Kindle Fire HD. Oh, it's nice to be nice, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, over here.
Yeah, hi. My name is Mike. I want to say I'm a really big fan of the Justice book. I thought it was the biggest surprise of the new 52. Like usually video game kind of books and other stuff, but this one doesn't. And so when it was getting extended, my question is, how much is it getting extended, and what were you able to add that not
I'd love to answer that question, but I don't know the answer. We don't have time together to answer it. So I think the best I can say is we're going to have to wait and see. But given I think the way the use of con enhance the storyline of the game is, I think it's even more than able to enhance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Dan.
Quick funny story. So I tweeted about the fact that Stephanie Brown is coming back.
Yeah.
That's great. What about cats? But I'm not going to ask that question because I'm really excited. I'm going to give you guys a chance to bring her back with you again. Actually, what I want to know is, having done a lot of analysis of DC's numbers, I was noting that there are very few female visitors for DC. Very few female visitors, no female editors. For example, in January, 0 female editors in the entire New 52 and 20 in June, there were 0 female editors, 0 female principals for the entire 52. So I'm wondering, what are you doing an analysis of your hiring practices, and what are you doing to change this situation? Because I'm sure you don't want this situation.
It's an excellent point, and it's something that the editorial group works on very hard. They work on talent searches. They're trying to find ways to bring in a diverse cast of creators, because we have a diverse cast of characters. All I can do from my perch sitting up here is assure you that I sit in plenty of discussions where that goes on. The reality of the situation still is what it is, but it takes a lot of effort. And again, from my perch in marketing, what I can tell you is an issue of much discussion and much effort going forward from DC, so we'll have to watch the pages to see results.
I look forward to seeing what you guys do with this company.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you don't mind me adding, I'm a girl that works in the comic book industry. I've never found it being female in the comic book industry has never been held down.
I'm glad you heard that.
I've never felt anything like it always seems to want to pick back up. I think it's going to plus.
Maybe they should ask you how they can do more female artists. I know they love
It'd be great, but when they come through, they'll come through. They're around.
I know we're all looking forward to it.
Me too.
I know you guys have worked a lot with Red Rock. My question is do you ever want to see the Batman universe permanent again? Just kind of things back there from legacy. So are we ever going to get a clear picture on that? And is he ever going to do that? Love Tim.
Tim Drake will be a key figure in Batman.
Thank you.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for making Batwoman the woman I can finally say in a comic book character that has ovaries of steel. I mean, when I first picked it up, I was first happy about that, but I mean, in all honesty, thank you for doing that, and it's even better to see that Wonder Woman has something to do. But the question I'm gearing towards is, I know there's been a lot of pressure, it seems like from some questions about diversity and stuff, but one thing I've been very curious is that it seems like Cyborg is like an afterthought. And I'm not saying to spin them off, but what I'm thinking of, or do you know if there's plans to kind of put more emphasis or have more creative direction on what's going to happen with it?
Yeah, I can tell you from many conversations I've had with Jeff Johns that the last thing that Cyborg is an afterthought. Jeff, as you know from writing it, is a huge Cyborg plan. Cyborg is a central figure in everything that he's got mapped out for Justice League and where it's going. I would direct you to how Forever Evil will play out, and you'll see the role that Cyborg plays there. And I might even go so far as to say the role that he plays will cement a much bigger role for him in the DC. Keep reading.
Thank you.
First of all, question. There's a couple of special things that occurs to me
that's why they sort of stand still. So people don't want to insert too much effort, because otherwise it's really hard to see. And they start falling over, and that's not scary at all.
I love that question, how do talents breed? That's my kind of question, ladies and gentlemen. So for you, I have this is a lenticular variant cover for Forever People #1. These are not available publicly for sale anyway. They're used as gifts. So bag, board, and stash that stuff.
I just have a question for James. When you started Talon, Calvin Rose just kind of played up as an escape artist and that was his skill set. Do you think maybe more like the rest of the Talons and making him undead, basically giving him the ability to regenerate, did that kind of cheapen his skill set in any way, or what you can do with the character?
I don't think so. I mean, the real goal of that series, and the thing that I've tried to do over and over with it, is break the expectations of the character and what we're building towards in the series at every possible moment. I always want readers to think we're going in one way and then shock them when we go in someplace totally different. I've had a huge map out, and the emotional arc for Calvin is something I've put a lot of effort into. I really felt that was the best way to draw out the emotion for the second half of this big story that we're telling. It was in the original idea, like it was part of the original pitch of the series. So for me, it's not something that I have considered and then dropped in. It's always been part of the conception of the character.
Next question.
Movies like Flashpoint coming out being a success. Do we see any new 52 events like Forever Evil or Shooting Work coming out in animated films in the future?
I think as you mentioned, Justice League War will kick off the first of the New 52 animated features next year. I don't know that means therefore that every New 52 storyline is now on the table for potential video exploitation. I don't know that I've seen anything until they give some new countdown of what's going next. So cross your fingers and we'll see what plays out. But that's just the beginning.
Why does everybody hate their hat?
Next question. Somebody got a microphone, yes.
Hi, my question relates to Wonder Woman. So, a couple of years ago, you redesigned her costume, and I think it was a Jim Lee design, and she was given pants, she was given boots without heels, she had a jacket, she was much more covered up, and she sort of was very inspirational, I think, to female comic book readers. His iconic character didn't have to sort of run around naked to be a badass. And then she's gone back to her original costume. My question is, what happened to Wonder Woman's clothes?
I wish I could answer that. When the new 52 design showed up, she had pants, and then I'd actually drawn a few covers with the pants on. And I found that in drawing them, I mean, just from a visual perspective, it was actually really heavy on the bottom. I think it was black on black boots, and just the graphics of it didn't really work very well. So I was really happy when she lost it, because you can actually show movement a lot easier when you break the figure up into, torso, waist, hips. People got Super Friends animation designs and things like that. There's a very classic feel to it. From my perspective, I feel like what Wonder Woman wears, her costume I know has been called a bathing suit, and when I'm drawing it, I try my best to treat it more like a uniform. And that part of what makes her such a badass is she doesn't care what she's wearing.
I love Wonder Woman's iconic outfit, and I found it a real shame that she was covered up. I think it's a fantastic.
Everybody, including me, has their own little issues and ones that drive them crazy. Not everybody has those issues. The amount of heat and flack that we took when we changed to that outfit that we just expressed admiration for was even greater. That negativity was even greater than what you enunciated here. So it's a matter of where you listen, where you felt. I think the Cliff enunciated the real reason was from design and drawing perspective, not work. Done for any other consideration other than how do we make this read into that whatever they want to, because that's the planet we live in right now. All you can do is take what we say in the panel at face value or not. That's the Thank you. Last question over here.
Yeah, after seeing him in Trinity Ward, seeing that he's part of the Trinity Sim, it doesn't mean it happens in the book. You're finally going to see the question he was all about.
Everyone, thank you for coming today. We are not prepared to begin making certain 2014 announcements, if that would indeed be one of them. But I think the haste in which I'm packing up might give you a fairly good answer to that question. But again, thank you so much for coming today.
I had a good question too.